All right. So this is the last of the four wings, and of course the final chamber where Sapphiron and Kel'Thuzad, that guy, KT, resides.
Kel'Thuzad.
Thank you. Um, so we're going to be talking about the Death Knight Wing, military quarter, whatever you want to call it. I think its official name is the military quarter, but you're going to see very quickly why it's called the Death Knight Wing most of the time. So as always, we're going to start with a little bit of PTR footage. Strangely enough, this quarter was the first, I think, that they released on the PTR. Which means that the buff that I've put a disclaimer about in each of these little sessions is different here. In every other video that you've seen so far, every other quarter that you've seen so far, this buff has given 50% damage, 50% healing, and 3,000 health. In this quarter, it's just 100% damage and 3,000 health. So what that means for your expectations as we watch this is that the healing output is on par with what it should be, but they're doing twice as much damage as they should be doing, so this is essentially an 80-man raid. So when things just start falling over, that's why.
We don't have BJB.
Let me mute that. So, first things first, there's this patrol here. They don't back up far enough and end up pulling this. Part of the reason this is called the Death Knight Wing is there are tons of things named Death Knight something. Each of them has their own abilities, and each of them is deadly in its own way. So, unfortunately, most of the raid needs to know what these do. This is not like the trash in the other wings where you can kind of just do the same thing every time. You need to know kill order for these, and I will, of course, mark them and call things out and that kind of stuff. But it is important to note that this wing trash is relatively complex compared to some of the others. So the first thing, this pad that we see here, this is a shade of Naxxramas. You think that you've seen these in the past, but you really haven't. The shades and the spirits have the same model, but do entirely different things. The spirits that you've seen in the other quarters are stunnable, and they kind of just die. The shades do an AoE Shadow Bolt volley that hits really freaking hard, and also you can't stun them, you can't interrupt them. So, they need to die. However, these things next to them are Necro Knights. They also need to die really quickly, because despite the fact that they're called Necro Knights, they're essentially just mages. They come in 3 different varieties. You can't really tell which one is which until you start fighting them. But they come in Arcane, Fire, and Frost. The Arcane ones do an Arcane Explosion, I think. Let me double check that. And also Blink. It's gotta be an Arcane Explosion, right?
I think they do arcane missile as well.
Yeah, it's not really a big deal, though. Anywho. Yeah, so they'll do some kind of AoE Arcane thing, and they'll Blink. The Blink happens if they are CC'd in any way, they teleport to a player. The Fire ones will do a Blast Wave and a Flame Strike, and the Frost ones will do Cone of Cold and Frost Nova. So, long story short, when these are in packs, they are first kill targets. So you're about to see, even with 3,000 extra health, this shit hurts. Alright, the Shadow Bolt volley does... Wait for it. About 2,500 damage with before resists. So that hurts. And then on top of that, you've got the Blast Wave that does another, 1,600 damage. And a Flame Strike that will also hit for a shit ton. So right now, if this raid did not have 3,000 extra health on everybody, half of them would be dead. Right? And this is Alliance too, so they've also got Kings. It doesn't look like they put Kings on the Warriors yet, at least, but you get my point. Yeah. These things hurt. They need to be split. They need to be nuked down. Generally speaking, you want to keep them out of the ranged group for obvious reasons.
It's only Arcane Explosion for like about 800 damage each.
Yeah. So the other big things here So these Death Knights, which he actually has targeted the skull right here, these are always the first priority kill, unless there are riders in the packs, but I don't think that there are any mixed packs with Death Knights and riders. These will AoE fear. They also will cast a raise dead type effect that doesn't technically really resurrect a mob, but it will spawn a second mob from their corpse. Those are easy to deal with. However, the big thing that these do for all of our mages and druids, they will put a curse out that literally makes the target immune to all direct heals. So, that needs to be decursed instantly, especially on tanks, because otherwise hots are the only thing that will roll on them, and these do hurt. All of the mobs in this quarter hurt. These other two that they've got over here, these Risen Death Knights, they're garbage. They don't really do much. They can be tanked 2 to 4 at a time by off tanks. They don't hit particularly hard, and they die pretty quick. Right there, you're seeing him cast the Raised Dead. He summons this Death Chill Servant. Like I said, they're kind of jokes. These Death Knight Captains are another one that people are going to have to be very, very aware of. These will charge people, which by itself is not a big deal. However, they also do a massive whirlwind. You're not going to see it on this pack. They do test this as they get deeper into here. But the whirlwind will stun everybody in melee range and hit you for too much to survive. I'll put it that way. It's one of those things that without an insane amount of healing, you're not going to survive through it. And I would not count on the healers to be able to provide you that insane amount of healing, because you'll see. It's a lot. They are also disarmable, though, so keep that in mind. A lot of stuff in here is disarmable. For all of our warriors that love, checking out debuff things and making sure they're hitting the buttons that they need to keep people alive, spamming disarm in this place will be a boon. A few of these side mobs, they do random shit, but they really don't matter. Like you're saying, they can be single pulled, and they don't do anything important. They just die. A couple more captains, another shade. There's a decent amount of trash here. These packs are actually kind of skippable, but there's no real reason to, since they kind of just die easy and can drop loot. But these will have a cleave. The cleave chains, kind of like Veil's cleave, many other cleaves that the melees are used to. So obviously you don't want to stand in front of them. You don't want to stand anywhere near in front of them. You can pull them separately. For whatever reason, this pack isn't linked. It kind of should have been, but oh well. They also hit pretty hard, so.
Hey, stream quality is like 120p. Can we up that in any way?
Let me attempt to resize the window. I do anything?
Yeah, it's really choppy. It's not the actual size. It's just.
Let's
It's
try.
it's the rendering. When you slow down and pause, you can see in the background right there. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the whirlwind starting. Just pay attention to the melee that decide to run in on this. They're just going to get chunked. 2 hits kills most of them with 3,000 extra health. You don't want to be there. You really don't want to be there. Will we survive this eventually? Yes, but it hits for... It's hitting the tank with 7,000 armor for almost 3,000. So, do the math.
Basically Sartura.
It's worse than Sartura. It is significantly worse than Sartura.
Does disarming them prevent them from being able to do it?
Not sure. They didn't test that combination. I would think it does. Most warriors that I know of can't disarm, or can't whirlwind while disarmed, so in theory that logic holds true for NPCs, but who knows.
They might still be able to do it, but it would just do less damage as well.
Do you
Or
know
it
if
might
the
just
Dead
be
Knight...
autopilot.
Sorry. Do you know if the Dead Knights can cast Hysteria on those?
No. Not that we've seen.
Because that would be fucking insane.
So
That's
you're not going to be
40%
able to
damage increase,
see
yeah.
this here. There is a warning for the Whirlwind, similar to the Slayer packs after Twins. But we might have to make a week or something for that.
Did they also get knocked down in that?
You get stunned. Yes, this Whirlwind stuns. You need to be out of it before it starts.
Or else you're just dead.
Yep. Okay. Many more of these packs. Like I said, there's a lot of these little dudes. They don't really do anything important. I do want you to pay attention here to the aggro ranges in this quarter and throughout Naxx in general. They're massive. They're absolutely massive. You don't want to do things like that where you just did and charge in, because now all of a sudden they have 2 packs. That's not a big deal because they're doing 100% extra damage, but in a progression scenario, this would be a wipe. You don't want to do this. This is also one of those places where, especially since things fear, and we don't have Fear Ward, and Tremor Totem is nice, but not reliable, we will want to drag these back significantly before actually dealing with them. So we got a bunch of those packs. They all have the same types of mobs in them. There's only really 2 that you need to worry about during that first section of trash, is the captains versus the regular Death Knights. The regular Death Knights are still prio 1 for kills because they fear and such, but the captains will hurt. And of course, if there's a shade, you want to get rid of that too. There's only like 4, 6, 8 maybe Necro Knights in this entire wing, but when they are present, they take over first kill priority. So we now have this Cavalier. There are 2 different types of riders in here. The Cavaliers and the Death Lords, I think they're called. The first thing I want you to notice is, look at this little debuff off to the right here. It looks like a Curse of Agony. That's exactly what it is. It's called Aura of Agony. It's got a 25-yard range. So it emanates from the riders. You can outrange this if you're a ranged DPS or a healer, and you should try to. This stacks. It is not dispellable. It is just a thing. You can't. You can resist it, but you can't get rid of it unless you like Petri Flask, which you know. So these need to die really quickly. It's not a huge deal if there's just one in a pack like this one. This also, by the way, will stack very, very quickly. There's that Cavalier stacks relatively slowly. The Death Lords, which you'll see, they have like a glowy sword. That's how you can tell the difference, other than the nameplate, of course. The Death Lords marks stack much faster. So there's one pack here that you'll see how dangerous this can get. But with 100% extra damage, they kill it quickly enough that it's not really an issue. But during progression, raid-wide damage here will be very high. So healers need to be prepared for that. Because these do a stacking damage, we do want to stack them so that we can get as much cleave off as possible to kill them both as quickly as possible. But they also cleave, so don't face them toward the raid, right? The Cavaliers also have a bone armor, but there's nothing you can really do about that. So
It's not purgeable, is it?
I don't think so. Could
In
certainly
Wrath
try.
it was. I don't know if it is in Classic.
We'll do some testing.
Yeah. I'll try it
Alright.
out.
So they took care of all of the little packs. Now, if I turn this around just real quick.
Yeah, it's magic. It's this level.
Okay.
So this is where Razuvious is, the first boss of the military quarter. You would think, oh cool, let's go pull Razuvious now. No, absolutely not. All of this trash is linked. You have to kill all of it. Otherwise it comes to Razuvious and everybody has a bad time. So this pack right here, this pack of 3 riders, this will be the biggest issue in the entire wing right here, outside of bosses. This is a Death Lord in the middle. You know, he's not close enough for you to be able to tell the difference yet. And these are 2 Cavaliers on the side. Take a look at the raid damage that ends up happening here. They actually end up body pulling some of the horses off from the side. You don't want to do that, obviously. But even despite that, you're going to see that this would have been a problem. So with 3 of these and a Lord in here, look at how quickly this aura stacks. And he actually resisted one in there, but check this raid damage. They all have 3,000 extra health. This is like 10 to 12 dead people. And they're also doing an extra 100% damage. We are going to lose people on that pull. I can almost guarantee you.
If they're at
You
the
want to
right
do the hunter strat for those?
That's what I was about to say. It's very possible that we either just decide to kite a couple or tank them off to the side and assign a couple healers to keep a tank up. The chances of us doing that pull as a cleave AoE scenario, very low. Very, very low. All of the other ones are relatively manageable. That one in particular sucks.
Yeah, we used to have a hunter run up the stairs and kite it up to the entrance and then feign death, and then he'll come back once the other 2 are dead.
Yeah,
They got a ghoul skin tunic.
they did. Trash drop rates in Naxx are actually pretty good. So these steeds, they charge, they trample. It's whatever. The trample actually does hit pretty hard, though, so you want to attempt to keep them out of the caster group. But once we killed that 3-pack, this is not the issue, right? And then we make it to Razuvious. So after all of that is dead, we're over here. This is what it looks like. I'm going to pull up a few different resources for this. This fight, think about this fight like Fire Maul, in the fact that positioning is very tight, very important, and will make or break the entirety of the fight. So we're going to watch a quick 30-second guide on this, and then I'll talk about everything else.
Instructor Razuvious. For this boss, you'll need at least 2 priests and 4 tanks. You should begin this fight with the priest mind controlling an ad and taunting the boss. Your tank should be assigned to pick up an ad each. Tank the boss here. This allows you to easily line of sight his disrupting shout, which you can cast every 25 seconds. The main tactic is to keep subsequent mind controls on the ads to keep the boss tanked. When a mind control is almost finished, the other priest should begin mind controlling another ad to taunt the boss. When the mind control is finished, have your specified tank for that ad ready to pick it up. The ad should be healed whilst they're mind controlled, as the boss hits way too hard for players to tank. Repeat this process until the boss dies, then kill the ads.
So, as nice as that guide was, as concise, his positioning graphic is incredibly inaccurate, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit more depth. However, this fight, in reality, is pretty easy as long as you've got 2 competent priests. I would like to say that we have 2 competent priests. I would even like to go so far as to say that we have 2 competent priests that tank on a regular basis. So this fight shouldn't be an issue. However, every single person in the raid needs to be keenly aware of a couple things. The first being positioning. The second being the way that the threat of these little dudes works. So you only need 3% hit for this priests. These are level 60. It's pretty easy to get hit capped against these. And the way that we're going to end up setting this up, let me, can I copy this picture? Can't. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. Excuse me. Okay. So this is the
Come in a little if you can.
yeah. Okay. This is the pet bar. They only have 2 abilities. Taunt, Shield Wall. Which means, good friends of the DPS class, don't out-threat the understudies. In theory, the taunt lasts long enough that it really does not matter. In practice, don't out-threat the understudies. We literally, as the priest tanks, we literally do not have another button to press to threat harder. So, don't die. This is a nice little graphic. I'm actually going to zoom up to this one real quick because a top-down view gives you a little bit better idea of what's happening here. So, the melee are over here, tucked away. Melee, I want you to know you can't get healed here. And we will not heal you. So, do not pellagra on the boss. You'll literally get one shot, everybody will laugh, I'll cry a little bit, and that'll be that. The boss, this is a very specific positioning here, needs to be behind this wall on the inside. You can do the same thing on this other side too, but we'll probably, there's no reason not to do it over here. So the boss needs to be just inside of this wall, outside of line of sight of the healers. That's important. All of the healers are stacked right here. The boss is outside of line of sight. So it's, like I said, it's like Fire Maul, where healers, you do not want to be in line of sight of the boss. Unlike Fire Maul, if you are in line of sight of the boss at the wrong time, you're literally either dead or useless. So don't do that. The tank, the current ad that is being tanked, or being used to tank, there we go, is right inside the line of sight of the healers, so that the boss is over here, the tank's over here, we're good. Ranged
It's really
DPS,
hard to see your mouse, by the way.
Yeah. Ranged DPS, can I highlight? No. Ranged DPS, you guys are over on the corner, on the opposite side, diagonal. What that does for you is you can use that little lip to LOS the battle shouts. And you're thinking to yourself, why would I want to LOS battle shouts? Well, they mana burn, and they deal damage, and you will either be, like I said, dead or useless. So, line of sight those. Meanwhile, the tanks are tanking the 3 ads right on the staircase for easy access by the priests. So this is a more accurate representation of exactly what's happening here, right? So ranged DPS are over on this bottom right side, line of sighting around the pillar. The understudies are tanked in the middle of the ramp. The healers and mind control priests are right at the edge here. And then the melee, Razuvious, and the active tank are all standing down there. Positioning is the entirety of this fight, outside of what the priests are doing. But if everybody else in the raid just handles their positioning and the priests do their job, this one's easy.
Given this layout and line of sight, don't the mind-controlling priest eat the battle shout?
No. Razuvious is right behind the pillar here. You'll see this when we watch the actual fight. But this is line of sight, right? The ranged have line of sight on Razuvious because they have the diagonal, but the healers do not, because that wall is right there.
Can the ads that are tanking the boss get parried?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Everything
Your
can
luck.
happen. Yeah, everything can happen. So the big thing with these ads is, and I have to check this because it did not seem to be the case in the PTR, but theoretically, their shield wall lasts 20 seconds, their taunt lasts 20 seconds. So, every 20 seconds you rotate an ad. In theory, Razuvious is taunted the entire time. In practice, that is not what I've been seeing. So, like I said, don't out-threat the dudes. Similarly, if we need an emergency tank on Razuvious, you have to press shield wall before he hits you. The reason that you use understudies on this fight is because Razuvious will hit you for like near infinite damage. You cannot survive it.
The understudies have 400,000 health.
Yeah.
He hits for around 50 to 100,000.
Yeah.
And the shield wall reduces the damage they take by 75%. So it's...
Yeah.
So
and they still die.
yeah, healers. Good news. The only things that you care about are the understudies. Everybody else, if they pull threat, they die. If they get hit by the battle shout, they die. That's not your fault. It's not your job. Keep the understudies alive. If an understudy dies, we effectively lose a full cycle. The mind control, every time one of these gets mind controlled, there's a 60-second cooldown before that understudy can be mind controlled again. Which means, if they each last 20 seconds, we need 3 of them to reach that full 60 seconds. However, that cooldown starts when the mind control ends. Which means, if we let one die, we will end up in a phase where we cannot tank Razuvious with one of these. Don't let the understudies die, okay? Thanks. Alright, so let's watch the actual fight here. He ends up talking about it for a while, and they do a ton of testing. So I'm going to zoom.
Do they target one of the understudies here to see how much HP they have?
Yeah, you'll see the understudy's health. And where do they actually do this? Over here? Yeah. So they do this on the opposite side. There's no benefit or loss to doing that.
It's literally just flip. It doesn't matter which side you do it on.
Okay, so I actually probably should have shown you the first 2 attempts of this because there are a few common mistakes that they made. The first is priests. When you are tanking, your job is to mind soothe the one on the corner, right? So if we're doing it on this side, it'd be that one. It really does not matter. You mind soothe the one on the corner, and then you mind control it, right? You get close enough, you mind control it. Razuvious will pat around, and eventually he will reach the one that you're mind controlling. So your timing needs to be pretty good. Like, you know, don't, if Razuvious is over here and pat clockwise, don't mind control this one, right? You're wasting a ton of time on your mind control. So do not mind control this and then think to yourself, okay, I'm going to pull Razuvious now and walk over here to try. You will get out of range of the mind control. It will drop. That one is now immune to mind control, and we have problems. The other thing is when you're tanking, you press shield wall before you press taunt. Not after. Press it before.
And default is shift 4 for shield wall, shift 3 for taunt.
I would not be able to tell you. But yeah,
it looks
so
like 5 and 4 from when you were showing the mind control thing earlier.
yeah.
Oh, that could be like his custom thing, yeah. Because my pets are control 1, control 2, so.
So right here, that was pretty perfect MC timing, right? So Razuvious is on his way. Still not there, still not there. He stops occasionally. This tank actually decides that he's going to body pull in order to save some time here. That's okay, but the priest needs to be aware that that's happening. Otherwise, they're not going to be ready to hit the taunt button, right? Okay. So first thing first is the priest makes sure that Razuvious is in behind this ledge here. This is the important part, right? This is the mind control priest. If Razuvious decides to battle shout over here, this person drops their mind control, dies, loses all their mana, one or the two or both, and so does everybody else. So don't let that happen. This positioning is questionable, which is why you're seeing them finagle with it. That's a little bit better now. Now you'll see they already have a second understudy ready. This is important. This is why you need 2 priests. You kind of have to overlap these a little bit in order to make sure that there's no downtime, because the instant that Razuvious decides to attack somebody else, they're dead. So the priests that are doing this will be vocal over comms. Everybody else needs to shut the fuck up. This is an intricate timing fight for the 2 tanks here, similar to Firemaw, except unlike Firemaw, there are no obvious like DBM timers and shit. These, for whatever reason, also randomly drop mind control sometimes. It might be a bug from the PTR. Who knows?
That's normal for mind control.
Yeah,
it's really not, though.
That often.
Only certain mobs. But yeah, so they're going to do their rotation here. I want you to take a look at the raid real quick. Let me back this up. Raid's at full health. And then all of a sudden, all of the casters lose half their health, almost all of their health, and most of their mana. That's what happens when you get hit by Battle Shout. All of those people are now useless.
Well, they would
Don't
be
be
dead
useless.
without that 3,000 health.
Correct. Yeah, don't be these people. That being said, there are currently no DBM timers that I can see for his battle shout, so hopefully DBM gets that fixed by the time we get there. Otherwise, I will have to do a manual timer. And by me, I mean Bacon, because I'll be focused on other things.
There are weak horrors if we can't get a DVM timer up in time.
Was that a dead understudy? Is that why he ran off?
Going back, no, that was just an understudy not being ready. So that understudy drops mind control. There's none other in place, right?
Yep.
They need to be ready. So what the tank does here, and this is exactly what you will do if you are the free-floating tank on this fight. You've got your shield on, you're ready. He taunts, immediately shield walls, and gets Razuvious back into position. Right? Eventually the understudy taunts back off of him, and we're good to go. Now I do want to say, this tank is lucky that he lived. That is not something that is typical.
Did even
From what I
get hit?
remember from Wrath, the boss has normal melee attacks, and he has like a big spike hit.
I think it's an
unbalancing
unbalancing strike. Yep.
Yeah.
Just like twins. So that was an understudy death. So they are now down one understudy. And
Did it have shield wall active when it died? Did it die through shield wall or just wore off and they didn't have a replacement yet?
It's pretty hard for them to die through shield wall. Tegs, he just got hit with a normal melee for 18k. So, you know. Just in case you were wondering, in case you thought I was exaggerating, I'm really not. You will die. There's nothing you can do about it.
Normal melee attacks hit for that much, and then the unbalancing strike is like 50 to 100k.
Yeah.
350% of that, so...
Alright, so they do end up killing this. It is very sloppy. I am hoping beyond all hope that ours aren't this sloppy. Let's get in here and save everybody's world buffs for 4 Horsemen, yeah?
Obviously.
But that's the majority of the fight, right? Like, there's just casters back here, line of sighting back and forth for battle shout, healers over here healing the understudies, and 2 priests tanking. That's it. There's nothing, you know, nothing overwhelming about this. It's just Fire Maul 2.0. Unfortunately, Fire Maul was a bit of a brick wall in Blackwing Lair for the vast majority of guilds, and also broke quite a few of them. So, I'm hoping the fact that this is Fire Maul 2.0 is a good thing, because we've all seen Fire Maul and we've all done Fire Maul. However, I'm also a little bit afraid that this is Fire Maul 2.0, because we all see what happens on Fire Maul on occasion.
Do you have any idea which 2 priests you have in mind for doing this?
It'll probably be me and 5 the first few times. However, every priest is going to need to know how. So.
I just wanted to practice or get ready if I could.
Yep.
Biggest thing is to check how when you mic control your pet bar looks, and if you have the right events, because if you have that messed up when you get there, you're pretty much done from the beginning.
Yeah. Alright, so we have another short hallway of trash. Not quite yet. So we have a big room of trash. This is the floating weapon room. Let's see if I can get a better angle on it. Yep, there it is. Floating weapon room. Each of the weapons in here has a different ability. They all hurt in their own unique ways. There are axes, like this one. They cleave. The cleave is ouch. You do not want to be cleaved by these. There are staves that do an arcane explosion. Arcane explosion is also very ouch. So those need to be tanked separately and away from the raid. And then there are swords. The swords, I think, also cleave, but their big thing is they just hit really fast. That's it. So these are the staves. Notice how much the arcane explosion does when it hits the raid here. Wait for it. There it is. It's not too bad, but a couple of these in the raid will add up quickly. Like it's about to, actually. Yep, here we are. The staves also do a Frost Nova, but that's not a huge deal if they're tanked properly. But yeah, so we just fight our way through this room. Nice and slow-like, because these will kill you. They don't look like they're going to kill you, but they will kill you. And of course, the aggro ranges are massive, so we will want to be careful about pulling. This is another double Necro Knight Shade pack. They're prioritizing the Necro Knights. most of the time I agree with this. There are Necro Knights that are less annoying than others. The Frost one, for instance, is like whatever. But if you've got Fire and Arcane Necro Knights, they do need to die very quickly.
This thing's dies so fast with the buff.
Yeah, double damage is kind of stupid. They also have, well, they did have world buffs at the beginning. Another double Cavalier pack.
And they don't even have a
And
full
then-
rate, do they? It's
No,
what,
they
like
don't.
34 people?
Yeah, that's part of the reason why the buff existed on the PTR, was to enable this kind of thing. But, so they just tested to make sure that pack wasn't skippable. It's not. Double Arcane.
Mindsoothe?
Mindsoothe might work, but like also I would kind of assume that anything that is... Oh, also I think the Necro Knights are beasts, believe it or not.
Do they try mind
no.
controls on the humanoids?
Everything there should be undead.
The Death Knights are undead. I want to say the Necro Knights are beasts, but I have to check.
Alright, I'll make sure to put beast lore on them then.
Oh,
I remember there was something weird about them.
Give me a
I
second.
can't remember exactly what it was.
I'll check. Necro Knight. No, they're undead. Skeletal Mages undead.
Good. All right, so now we enter Gothic's room. This is very important. Nobody touches Gothic. Here's Gothic. Don't touch him. Don't get near him. Don't shoot him. Don't curse him. Nothing. Just don't. You'll notice that there are two halves to Gothic's room, split by this giant wall. This side, without anything on it, is the live side. And then over here, with the bone piles, is the dead side. We're going to watch a little video on this, in which those two things are said often. And, of course, when I do assignments, I will say live or dead. So, make sure you know which is which.
Goth Chick. Split the raid into two groups with equal tanks and healers. One side is melee, the other is ranged. Range goes on the live side, melee on the dead side. Range will want to prioritize unrelenting riders, then death knights, and then trainees. When you kill a mob on the live side, it will respawn on the dead side for melee to re-kill. Melee will want to prioritize trainees, then riders, then death knights, and finally the horses. Live side need to be aware of killing stuff too fast so the melee don't get swamped. After a time, the ads will stop spawning and the boss will teleport down to one side. He does a shadow bolt that does nothing. He'll swap sides every 40 seconds until he's at 40%, at which point the gate will open up and you can all nuke him down together, as a team.
That's easy.
So, yeah, this fight is Razor Gore 2.0. We're upgrading our Blackwing Lair fights. The difference between this and Razor Gore is that the mobs actually have mechanics that we care about. Five asks, is CC an option on any of that? Shackle, stun, etc.? Yeah, actually, we will be making heavy use of Priest Shackles, which I'll show you in a second here. Of course, the strategy for Gothic assumes that the casters and ranged DPS are going to kill things too quickly for the melee to deal with. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
We're going to have world buffs, so, I mean,
Yeah,
we can bring it.
I don't think it's going to be a problem, though. So, as we turn around here, you'll notice that there are 4 bays. We're going to see the last one. 3 bays? Why did I think there was 4?
Should only be 3.
Alright, there are 3 bays. Those bays have set spawns. The trainees on live side will spawn from all of them. Right? The riders will spawn from the middle one, and then the Death Knights will spawn from the left and the right ones. So when we assign tanks for this, we assign one over here, and one over here, and one over there. Generally speaking, the only things that need to be tanked here are the big ones. Right? The trainees don't really do shit on live side, so we don't care too much about them. However, the Death Knights will put a curse. I don't think it's actually a curse. It's a mark. It's a debuff that they put it on people that are near them, which is part of the reason why this side is the ranged DPS. So you do not, by any means, want those Death Knights in the ranged, where the healers and the ranged are standing. The reason for that is because when the riders spawn, when the horsies come out, they will charge people. And if you have the mark on you, think about it like the packs in AQ, where the mark is the poison and the riders are the stingers. You're dead. You don't want that. So the only people that should ever have the marks on them are tanks in a perfect scenario. In order to make that work, priests, there will be one of you assigned to each of these bays here to just literally just spam shackle on the big ones as they come out. They can be tanked, they should be tanked, but since shackle doesn't regenerate HP, you can literally just spam shackle and keep them almost entirely rooted while the ranged nuke them. Ranged DPS, while you're on this side, the other big thing to keep in mind is you cannot, by any means, ever split your DPS. Due to the way that the dead side works, and the fact that the mobs over there are somewhat significantly more difficult, if we kill a bunch of stuff over here all at once, they're going to be very upset over there. So don't do that. So from left to right will be our kills. So when the 2 Death Knights spawn, you'll kill the left one first, and then the right one, and when the rider spawns, you'll kill that. If we get to the point where live side is being overwhelmed, or dead side is being overwhelmed, and we need to slow down on live side, we can keep several of these permanently shackled throughout the entirety of the fight, even when Gothik is here, right? So, something to keep in mind. We're not going to see the dead side perspective here, but I'm actually going to go back a little bit and show you where he has... So, he's currently on the back wall. If you look at the minimap right here, you'll see he's in the southwest corner, right by the entrance. This is where all the healers will be standing, along this wall. We want you in this corner because it is the furthest point away from all of these bone piles. Just like things have fixed spawn points over on the live side, things will spawn from the bone piles on the dead side. So all of the healers want to be against that wall because you will get healing aggro on the things as they spawn, which means melee. You see this pile over here, you can kind of see it past his raid frames or raid list. That pile and this pile over here draw a line across the room. You are by no means ever allowed to cross that line. Do not go into this corner over here to pick things up. Just don't do it. Your job is to make a line right here, kill the things as they come to you, make sure they don't get to the healers. Alright? So we're going to zoom forward a bit. I wonder how much time he spends talking about this. They spend a lot of prep time. Yep.
For the shackle spamming, do you want us to put on any pit gear or no?
You shouldn't really need it. You get a resist every once in a while, no big deal. The other thing
These
is
are the
you'll
ones
see...
that are 61, 62?
Yeah, I think they're 62 or 63, actually, the big ones.
Yeah, Trainee 61, Dead Knight 62, Spectral Rider 63, and Horse is 63 as well.
Yeah. So you'll see that they've got hunter traps down here. That also helps hunters if you keep a bay trapped, or even 2 bays trapped. It's kind of nice time. All right, so he's assigning tanks and healers and yada 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 yada. Let's go to... Okay. So, just like Razor Gore, this fight ramps up in intensity as it continues. So, things will start spawning very, very slowly, and it's going to feel like the beginning of Razor Gore, feel like the beginning of Neff, where everything just kind of dies. These trainees, when they spawn, a single ranged DPS can delete these. I will likely assign 1 ranged DPS per bay to just nuke the trainee when it spawns, because that's literally all you need. Everybody else can just focus on left or right Death Knight. So yeah, those just die.
HP.
Yeah, they're 4.5, I think. 4.5k.
5. Should be 5 something, 5 and change.
He'll target one eventually. The Death Knights also don't have a ton. It's about 20k. But this is the mark that I'm talking about right here. This debuff. You do not want this on your ranged. And if you turn around, you'll notice that this one actually got into the raid for a little bit. They had some miscommunication during this fight about what they should be focusing. Obviously, this is marked Skull. And then a rider spawns. This right here, priests, is where somebody's spamming Shackle on this. Because there's no tank here, right? It's just, it's going for somebody. Everybody's got debuffs on. There's still Death Knights up, right? This is where we CC this. So this tank actually moves over here to attempt to grab that. That's brave. Tanks, I wouldn't do that if you've got a mark on you. But it likely won't kill you if you're wearing a shield and such. I think it's shadow damage though, so it still might. Oh, by the way, shadow protection potions. This fight has a ton of shadow damage just in general. So it's not a bad idea.
I feel like it would be worth it to wear a little bit of hit gear and mana regen and have one priest, even when there's no target that necessarily needs it, just shackle. Because
I will be live side 100% of the time and have a free 10% hit. So, yeah.
Right on. So you're going to be shackling, and we can presume that you'll be prioritizing that over any healing?
Pretty much, yeah. The other thing to consider here is just actually not a lot of healing to go on during this fight, just in general. Most of the healing, in fact, is dead side. Which, I wish I could show you guys dead side, but I didn't find a good perspective of it, because literally everybody that records this freaking PTR is a tank. And for whatever reason, they all like to be live side. But dead side, the mobs have almost the exact opposite priority. You want to kill the trainees first, because the trainees spam Arcane Explosion on dead side. It is annoying. They need to die quickly. And then after that, you can focus on the Death Knights and then the Riders. The Riders on dead side, when they die, actually split into a horse and its rider. And generally speaking, because there's going to be a giant stack of melee DPS over there, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But in the off chance that you guys start getting overwhelmed over there, it is very important to be vocal about that. Bacon will be on that side, so you'll have one of us on each side to handle callouts and such like that. And I'm sure that it'll be fine. Now,
something to be careful on that side. The riders will drain life, and they usually will go for the healers first. So
yeah,
keep an eye on that, Melee.
Yeah, like I said, Melee, your job is to make sure that nothing ever gets to the healers. That is the entire goal. Actually, let me move over to this for a second. I wonder if he's got... Okay, so he doesn't have the positioning that we're going to use, but this is still just as good. Okay, spawn points red, yada, yada, yada. Here we go. So, Arcane Explosions. The Riders, in addition to doing that life drain that targets the highest threat, which most of the time will be a healer, they also have an AoE aura that does shadow damage. Yet another reason you do not want to let them get close to the healer stack.
It should be like Baron and the boss in Skolo.
Yeah, pretty much, actually. They're almost exactly
the same model.
Yeah. The Death Knights, the just regular walk on 2 feet people, they do Sunder, they do Cleave, they do Whirlwind, and they do Mana Burn. Again, another reason not to let them near the healer stack. These abilities actually aren't that big of a deal. The Sunder, if it gets too high, obviously tanks, let it drop, let somebody else tank something, but like this actually, these ones, because there are going to be way more trainees than Death Knights, so just don't be dumb, right? And then the horse will actually do a little thunderclap type thing that slows you. So, but other than that, they don't do much.
The Bound and Burn's pretty bad. It's like 4,500.
Yeah, every mana. This is everybody keeps mentioning mana burns in Nax. I hate the fact that they're mana burns, because every time I say, oh, there's a mana burn, people are like, oh yeah, mana burn. Blah, 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 blah. The mana burns in Nax, every single one of them, of which there are many, not only do they burn like 50 to 100% of your mana, but they also, most of the time, deal damage to you equal to the mana drained. And I don't know about the rest of the healers, but most of the time we have more mana than health. So, do the math. So after everything is dead, actually not true. Not true at all. After 4.5 minutes, Gothik will come down. So we are Razor Gore phase 1 for 4.5 minutes. There's nothing we can do about that. He, for whatever reason, is immune until that first cast. However, you'll notice that he got debuffed. Casters and ranged DPS, you can actually debuff him while he's on that balcony up there. So, get your debuffs up a little bit early. Save yourself a GCD. But he has 400,000 health. He's a joke. He Shadow Bolts somebody and it doesn't hit for even as hard as the frickin' Nefarian phase 1 Shadow Bolt. Once he is down here, we win. I don't care if there's only 10 people left, we win. He's a joke.
I love how he's shadow bolting on the other side as well.
Yeah. The gate in the middle here opens when he hits 40%. There's a decent chance that the melee just kind of get trapped over here and watch him die. Sorry.
Bad parse.
And then we end up in another one of these big hallways. You've seen plenty of these. This is now a spirit of Naxxramas, not a shade. These do not Shadow Bolt volley, and they can be stunned. And then these are the ghouls that hit hard, cleave, and are disarmable. And let me log back in so I don't miss any in-game chat.
Let's see, that aggro range is even bigger.
Yep.
Not to mention your ghoul's aggro range with stealth is increased.
Yes. Alright, so we get done with the ghouls, we get done with the Shadow Bolt Volley Acolyte dudes. Then we have 2 packs of gargoyles down this ramp. There's also a patrol. This is the one difference between this hallway and the ones in the other wings. There's a Death Knight patrol right back here. You can barely see them in the distance. They actually wait for it, despite the fact that it is incredibly slow. Just because fighting that with the debuff from the gargoyles on you, not such a great idea.
And there's a shade, usually? No?
Not with that
Hello?
patrol. I think that patrol is just 2 Necro Knights and the Death Knight. I do want to say, though, this is a Death Knight Vindicator. I keep mentioning that the riders all put out this dot because that is true. And frankly, it's really the only thing that you need to know as a DPS. But the Vindicators do slightly different things. I'm honestly not sure off the top of my head what those things are, though, because they kind of just die. Anytime you've got one mounted thing in the pack, it's just kind of just does. Let me look real quick. I don't think that they do anything we care about. Of course, if you have decurse or cleanse options, there's always something that you want to be looking at doing should you see something pop up. Yeah, I don't see anything. It's not even in the notes. Alright. The gargoyle pack.
They're not even put on the mob list in Nax.
Yeah, they just die. Nobody cares. Alright, after we fight our way through all of this stuff, we end up here. Alright, right about now is when you should fly to Tonorus if you're available in-game. Because after we talk about some things, we're going to do some things. This is the most difficult fight in Nax. Not because of gear checks or any particular mechanic, but because of the fact that there are so many mechanics, and every single person as an individual needs to be responsible for knowing them. There are effectively 4 fights going on during 4 Horsemen, and I, as a raid leader, and Bacon as an assistant, and even if we brought on 2 others, we can't call out everything. You all need to be aware of what you're supposed to be doing on this fight. So we're going to watch the 30-second guide real quick, and then I'm going to show you how they handle this, and then we're going to practice it, because this is the fight that's going to require some practice. We will wipe on this. We will wipe on this multiple times. If we one-shot it, well, I'm never going to say that. So first things first, I want you to notice is the aggro radius. All right? If you walk in here, don't body pull these. If you walk in, look at that. Giant aggro radius. They're testing this right now because you can reset these. If you go outside of the room, they will despawn. So, in the event that somebody is really stupid, don't be really stupid, and aggroes these bosses early, everybody run. Everybody run out. Now, of course, that also pulls these, so we'll kill them first, but... Alright, moving forward a bit.
Also, don't get locked out of the fight.
Yeah, I don't get... Yeah, no. So when we pull these, fun fact, their aggro, for whatever reason, is LOS behind this pillar. So you can approach from the corner here, which is exactly what we'll try to do. You can just also just run up as a raid. Is that the easiest way to handle it? Yes. Does it make things a little bit harder on the pull because tanks have further to travel? Also, yes. So we'll play with that.
Should the all warriors bring tier 2 gear? Seems like a lot of the tanks here are using like full, like not strength agi stam gear, but like mech gear.
Yeah, part of the reason they're doing that is because nobody, including the healers, is aware of how hard things hit, right? So they're testing. We will also be mostly unaware, right? Like, people have seen the damage output, you know, you've watched it, but it's a different feeling actually having it happen in front of you, right? So our tanks will be in mostly mitigation gear for these kinds of fights. This fight in particular doesn't actually hit that hard. Mograine is the one that hits the hardest, and a lot of his damage is fire damage. So your mid-gear doesn't actually help you too much. That being said, we need 8 tanks for this. And the two that actually slap a little bit and need to be tanked will be tanked by 4 real tanks, right? We will have 4 real tanks rotating on the front of the room here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then our 4 fake tanks, all you DPS warriors that will be tanking for us, will be in the back of the room. So the ones that you guys will be tanking will hit like wet noodles. I wouldn't say bring full mitt, but you bring your chonk gear, right? Whatever you wear during Slayer packs and AQ, bring that. Oh yeah, also these can be disarmed. So, yeah. All right. Skip forward to pull, maybe. Oh, they actually practice their rotation here, so I'm going to show you that in a second after.
You want to do 2 tanks, 2 hunter pulls, or?
Maybe.
We can do the front ones while the tanks run to the back.
I'm a little concerned about the hunters just getting zapped by something. I don't know what the range on Mogrian's little fire thing is. Maybe. Alright, let's watch a quick little 30-second guide before we actually see the fight.
The 4 Norsemen. For this fight, you'll want at least 8 tanks and 12 healers. Each boss puts a unique stacking dot on anyone around it for a while. Your job is to not go over 3 stacks. There is a safe spot in the middle of the room. You will be assigned a group and rotate in to attack the boss until you have 3 stacks. Then you go back to the safe zone. You will need to alternate which boss you attack every time you leave the safe zone, as your previous stacks will not have fallen off by the time you need to rotate back in. Healers, you will be in a group of 3 on each boss. You will not go to the safe zone. One by one, you will move clockwise to the next boss for every stack you gain. So the first healer in every group will move to the next boss as soon as they have 1 stack, second healer will move at 2, and the third will move at 3. After the first transition, you will always stay at your current boss until you have 3 stacks, and then you move on. Each boss has their own separate abilities you will need to look out for. Thane Kel'Thuzad, this boss drops a meteor which will need to be soaked by every person in that group. Lady Blameau drops a void zone on the ground which needs to be avoided. High Lord Mograine, best server EU, has a dot that deals a lot of damage, so prepare to heal the tank. Sir Zeliok does a chaining holy wrath that deals increased damage the more people it hits. Stand at max range and spread out by at least 5 yards to avoid this. Melee shouldn't attack this boss. Your DPS will be killing Thane and Mograine first. Once they are dead, you will join the tanks and healers on the other side of the room and assist in killing them. The bosses, not the tanks and healers.
So Righteous Fire is melee, so there's no chance of us getting.
Okay.
If we put more grain in that case.
Give me just 1 second.
Oh, Righteous Fire has no internal cooldown,
Alright,
so he could technically apply it back to back.
Yeah, and it hurts too. It's like 4,800 damage over 6 seconds, 8 seconds. Yeah.
But it has a 2.1 to 2.4, 2.6k application instant fire.
Yeah. All right. So this setup that they've got right here, this is what we're about to do in game. So I'm not gonna have you guys watch this. but I do want you to pay attention during the fight to how this happens. This is the entire fight, right? While you are in a corner fighting a particular boss, regardless of your role, you need to be aware of what that boss does, right? So when you are fighting Mograine, you don't really care, you heal the tank, yada yada yada. When you're fighting Blamo, there's giant black circles on the ground. Don't stand in the giant black circles. Easy. When you're fighting Zeliek, spread the fuck out. Healers especially, the beam is like a 10-yard chain, so similar to Cthulhu, and it does the same thing that Cthulhu's does. If it hits one person and jumps to the next one, it doubles every time. You will wipe the raid if you chain it to multiple people, which is also why melee, you don't get to touch Sir Zeliek ever. Don't do it. Just I know you're thinking to yourself, oh, but Glorak, we could fit one or two. Don't do it. And then who'd I miss? Kel'Thuzad has a meteor, so every single person on that corner, including the healers, need to stack. Right? As you move from place to place, it should be pretty damn obvious which one you're going toward. Right? If you're moving toward Mograine, you're noticing that the melee are all just stacked on the butt. Everybody's doing their damage. The healers are just pumping. Yada yada yada. If you move to Blamo, there's giant void zones all over the ground, right? If you move to Zeliek, you'll notice that there are no melee in and all the healers are spread out. And then if you move to Kel'Thuzad, everybody's stacked on the boss, right? So there shouldn't be too much thinking going on. You should be able to see and do, in theory. But we'll see. So I'm going to pause this and find where they do the poll.
One thing I've noticed is like a lot of casters, healers get confident on the void zones. Don't. Stop whatever you're doing and move. It's 4k damage a second. You won't survive a second tick.
The void zones will kill you, like, so fast. So fast. Alright, so they're doing a frontal pull here. This is fine. So, interesting. Oh, okay, never mind.
Damn, he got the fire debuff right away.
Yeah, that was really fast. For a second there, I thought it was the mark, and I was like, oh god, if they put out the first mark that quickly. But yeah, no. So this tank is currently tanking Mograine. This is the one that slaps, right? The tanks rotate every 3 marks. So when he gets his 3rd mark, the other tank will come in, taunt, leave. Warriors, bring your spell hit stuff. Whether that is a trinket from ZG or random other shit that you've acquired that doesn't reduce your physical resistances too much. I mean, like, literally, if you come in here and you have the double spell hit rings from ZG equipped for plus 3% spell hit, top tier. Nothing else matters, right? So these marks, in addition to just being the thing that you're paying attention to during the fight, they do damage, shadow damage specifically. And the first mark that you get from any particular horseman deals 0. No big deal. Second one's like 250, and then the third one's like 1,000, right? So up to 3, nobody really cares. Not a lot. The fourth one ends up doing like 2,500, 3,000, I think, and then it just goes up and up and up from there. So you do not by any means want to hang around past 3 marks, because you don't have to. You got plenty of other things to do damage to or heal and yada yada. That being said, they also reduce the threat that you output. So if you are on this side of the room and you've been DPSing these and you're having a good time, and we kill Mograine, we kill Kel'Thuzad, and we head to the back of the room to deal with Zeliek and Blamo. All you thirsty melee DPS are gonna just rush toward Blamo and start unloading. You're not gonna have any Blamo marks. The tank will. Don't do that. Let the replacement tank come in and taunt and yada yada yada. Don't be stupid about it. Okay. So these will be the first 2 that we kill. So they're rotating, I think okay, they are rotating at 3. They were just a little bit late. So he gets a 4th mark, runs to the middle. There is a giant pile of people here in the middle that you guys are just chilling. And the important thing to note as people just chilling in the middle here is you're not getting marks, right? So The only timer you have available to you is DBM. You need to pay attention. You can't just fall asleep here, especially tanks, because you need to know when you're going in to the next one. So tanks, as you do your rotation, there will be 4 tanks in the front, 4 tanks in the back, and you guys will be rotating back and forth pretty standardly. I actually think, did I peep a decent video in here? Or, you know, this is actually pretty decent. So, tanks will be going back and forth to the safe zone, right? If I'm tanking Mograine at the start, I get 3 stacks. I come to the safe zone after the other tank takes over, of course. After another 3 stacks, I go tank Kel'Thuzad. Another 3 stacks from Kel'Thuzad, I come back to the safe zone. Another 3 stacks, I go to Mograine, repeat. Right, so I'm going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Melee DPS, you guys are doing the exact same thing, or actually all DPS, you guys are doing the exact same thing where you're starting on one, coming to the safe zone, waiting 3 stacks, going to the other, getting 3 stacks, repeat, right? The only difference is you guys don't have to wait for a tank to taunt off of you, right? Healers, meanwhile, you guys are rotating one at a time, which we'll talk about. Same thing is happening in the back. This is a little bit squished because of the angle, but it's literally the same thing going on, except they lack DPS in the back there.
What is the range on the mark?
Yeah, it's high. It's relatively high. The safe zone is not small, but it's also not huge. Notice these ones over here in the corners are actually a little bit closer than the ones in the front. So the safe zone is not up here, right? You'll actually get hit by these marks if you stand on this little edge over here. It's right in front of the stairs. So 3 marks happens, he goes in. And you'll notice the 4 horsemen, they each individually don't have a lot of health. But this is a group that is doing 100% extra damage, and they are rotating through multiple times. This is part of the reason why spell hit gear is important for the tanks, because one resisted taunt here throws the rest of the fight into complete chaos. However, if we can kill the first 2, if we can kill Thane and we can kill Mograine, we now have 4 extra tanks for the backside. That gives us a much, much, much higher reliability, right? Oh, hey, look, Zeliak. Don't let this happen either. It looks like people probably chained the thing, and now there's a horseman over here. But yeah, so... Oh, and they let the tank die. Did they wipe this? Probably, right?
I mean, once you kill the first 2, it's hard to wipe. You can just...
Yeah, they didn't get the first 2 dead, though. Kel'Thuzad was still up. But yeah,
also, it's a 20-minute enrage fight, so we can take our time and do it well.
Yep. And, you know, it's not really... This is a mechanics fight, right? This isn't a DPS race. It's not really that healing intensive. Healers, you guys could last 12 to 15 minutes on this fight easily. Yeah, this is not a gear check so much as it is just a do you know what you're doing check. Alright, I think we saw enough of that. I'm going to tab back into the game, and we're going to do it.
I know this was the Wrath version of the 4 Horsemen, but what we did for that version, I don't know if it would apply to Classic, is we just stacked like pretty much and pumped and popped DPS cooldowns on the Meteor Horseman and tried to kill him before anyone on that side got to 3 stacks. And then it's freed up the 2 tanks and DPS to better handle the other melee horsemen.
Yeah, that was another strat. That was not right.
Yeah, if you split the DPS between the 2 in the front, you have technically higher DPS uptime because they have the time to go to the other horsemen, right? But the horsemen, yeah, Bale mentions this. I didn't actually say this because it's not a mechanic that we really care about, but it does happen. All of the horsemen use shield wall at 50% and 25% health. So, can you blast them? Yeah, can you blast them down? Yes. Is it viable? We'll see. if we have world buffs on our first 4 horsemen attempt, sure, I'll stack all the DPS on one side and see if we can't kill the meteor real quick. But outside of that, there's no real reason to. Alright, Whisper, Glorak, INV, if you're in or around Tonorus. And let's dance. I love when some rando just finds us in the middle of Tonorus.
Sonaris.
So apparently the marks go out. The first one is for 20 seconds, 12 seconds for each after that. The radius is 60 yards.
Yeah, I knew it was big. I knew it was that big, but it was big.
Mm-hmm.
I remember us doing a strat where instead of making the healers run all the way to a different corner, we would do the 3 on each corner and have one of them step out and go back into the middle to drop it. It like just swaps periodically with a couple of, when we had talked about that before, about the extra couple healers to cover gaps.
Yeah,
I just don't know that it's worth bothering.
You really only need 2 healers per corner to keep people alive. It's not, like I said, it's not a huge healing intensive fight unless Mograine smacks people, or people decide to be stupid and chain Zeliax Beam, which you can't heal anyway. But yeah, no, just having them rotate in between is easy enough. All right, so who do we got? Healers. Oh, by the way, I apologize to all of our melee DPS. This is not a fight in which you get Wind Fury.
Yes.
Bring them sharpening stones.
Mm-hmm.
Do the hunters get Wind Fury?
No. Nobody gets anything. Deal with it.
Can we get agility?
Too much mana.
I got too much mana.
See what happens when we have to trank? Oh, too much mana. Sorry.
There's no tranks on that fight.
You don't know that.
I do, actually.
I know that now.
See? See? You ruined everything, Bacon. You ruined everything.
Alright, here's the deal. This platform is the Four Horsemen platform. It's big, it's grand, we're all in awe. Yay. The safe spot is right in front of the platform. Raher. That's the safe spot. So, when we do the pull, we are all going to end up walking in either from the front or from the corner. It really doesn't matter one way or the other. So we're all going to be over here. All right. We pull. Do we have 4 tanks with us? Oh, we do. Beautiful. So our 4 tanks, Rim, Mix, Brass, and Adamiri, are going to pull the horsemen to the corners. The goal here, let's say Brass, you go to our left, Adamiri, you go to our right, Rim, you go back left, and Mix, you go back right. Right. So the room is pretty big, right? You pull the boss over to this corner over here, and this corner all the way back here. It's a long walk, right? The healers, in the meantime, let's do Lime, you're going to be left, Frail, you're right, Naka, you're back left, Psycho, you're back right. And you guys are going to rotate on the first stack, and then every 3 stacks after that, just because we only have 4 to 5 healers to work with right now. Then we've got our DPS. All you hungry DPS. Let's split. Evens are going to be to the right over here, DPSing Mograine, who Adamiri has. And then odds are going to be over here on the left, DPSing Korthas.
You're too close. A little further back.
Now, do note, Kel'Thuzad is the one that you stack on. So, when you are over here DPSing this, I don't care if you're a caster, a healer, or whatever, you are on top of the tank, right? Now, I need 4 off tanks. Let's do legit primal Night Mist Bale. Come to the middle. So you guys are going to be our 4 off tanks, which means on the pull, you're chilling. You're here in the safe spot. You're not doing anything. You wait until the first 3 stacks go out. And then on those 3 stacks, Phil, I want you to go grab off of... Wait. Legit Primal Night Mist Bale. Never mind. Phil, you're DPSing. Bale, I want you to go take it off of Adamiri. Legit, I want you to go take it off of Brass. Primal, I want you to go take it off of Rim. And then Night Mist, I want you to go take it off of Mix. Everybody got that? Now, I'm going to be on the platform over here watching all this happen. Just to see if we can't pull it off. So, everybody go to the entrance. Go stand on top of Tenrique. Tenrique.
Do we know if the Shadow Aura will fuck with Pack?
Likely. It doesn't happen for the first few seconds, though, so you got some time.
No, I'm just saying, like, when the tanks are swapping between bosses, like, we could kite them.
Yeah.
Between bosses, that way they get there quicker.
Do you want this? Do you want WoW on stream?
Do I want what now?
The WoW on stream, like on your stream currently.
It should be.
No, you have YouTube. You gotta change Windows.
I did.
It defaults. Excuse me. Fuck. It defaults to program instead of window. You have to click on the top right.
No, I like my Streamlabs has it visible.
Like Streamlabs is long.
I just see YouTube still.
No, YouTube is your YouTube stream is correct. Your Discord stream is not showing the same content.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, I was talking about Discord.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did you? I saw him trying to check around the corner. Can we go around the column at the beginning, at the entrance? Okay. I mean, the hunters could, scooch over there, and then we can be ready to pull the front ones.
I mean, I could also just have everybody literally put me on follow and do it. If you're on the backside, can you run right through the middle? Yes. Yes, you can. All right. I'm going to put a pull timer out, and then I'm going to raid warning stack numbers just to see how you all handle this.
Five,
oh, Shadow Claw, go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Right, tanks grab their targets, head to their corners. DPS, you're heading to your sides.
I didn't hear where my group was going.
Pew 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 pew.
I don't remember either. It doesn't actually matter though. The DPS does not need to be evenly split. All right. First mark goes out. What happens? Healers rotate. Nice. Very nice. Second mark goes out. What happens? Correct answer, absolutely nothing. Literally nothing happens. Don't do anything. Third mark goes out. What happens? You've got DPS rotating. Tanks are swapping. This is good. This is good. Beautiful. Fourth mark goes out. Nothing changes. We're good? We're good.
Wait, is the fourth mark the third mark for the healers?
If you are,
Yes.
If you rotate on 1, you also rotate on 4, 7, 10, yada, yada, yada. If you rotate on 2, you're rotating on 2, 5, 8, 11. Long story short, once you are a healer, you wait until you have 3 marks, and then you rotate again. After the first round. Fifth mark goes out, what happens? Nothing. Clap. Clap.
Healer's done 2.
What about 6? Oh, look at you tanks. Heading to the right. Oh, this is good. This is good.
Okay.
Rim, you're on the other corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Swap
What?
bosses every other time.
Why did DPS stay in the middle on the 4th mark?
Yeah, DPS, you guys, so you don't need 100% uptime, right? So you guys can head straight from one boss to the other. Just do not be absolute mongoloids, as Naka would say, and go to a boss that you already have marks for, right? I will tell you right now, I know you guys want to zug. If you go from one boss to another, and you already have even one mark from that boss, you have screwed up your entire rotation, and you're going to have to stand in the middle for too long. So, don't do that.
For anybody that wants to see, the distance from 5-sec rule to mixture right now, basically from mixture to the closest part of the platform, is 60 yards. That is going to be the range that those marks have.
Yeah. So that all just repeats, right? That's pretty good. Now, one more thing, DPS. If you do go straight from Mograine to Kel'Thuzad, or straight from Kel'Thuzad to Mograine, you can, if you so desire, go back toward what's-her-face, Blamo, to drop your stacks from those two, right? If you've got 3 stacks on Kel'Thuzad and you've got 3 stacks on Mograine, and you're looking for something to do, that's your third target over there back where Mix is standing, right? Do not, though, especially melee DPS, like ranged DPS, you guys can chill over by Zelik, but melee DPS, don't ever go towards Zelik. Don't do it, okay? Just don't do it. Now,
for perspective, if you look at X, like as far as X and Skull, you guys are not nearly far enough apart if you're looking for travel time.
It's a big fucking room. Now, one more thing, as Bale mentions, those of you over on Skull right now, which are oddly few, we need to not have that happen because Meteor does hurt. But those of you that are over on Skull right now, the Meteor will one-shot the tank if you all leave together. I'm not sure that it'll kill the tank and 2 healers if that's all that's there. But it'll definitely fucking hurt, and will probably kill at least 1 or 2 of the healers. So, if a Meteor is about to drop, there should be DBM timers for Meteor. Otherwise, just pay attention. Has it been a while since a Meteor? Do not leave that corner until the Meteor drops. Meteor drops, then you leave, right? Otherwise, you risk killing the tank and or healers.
Even if it means getting a 4th stack?
Even if it means getting a 4th stack. Yeah.
I was thinking, since pets are so unreliable in that fight, like we won't use them except for that. Like we'll leave them on stay or on attack on that boss. That way they can share on the damage, and then when we walk away, they'll despawn eventually.
Ooh.
Healers can outrange the Meteor, so can ranged DPS, but there's no reason to. It's better just to split the damage.
Can we? It's 45 yards.
Is it?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. 45 yards.
I thought it was like 30. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, because the tank is stacked with the DPS on that side, in theory, you can put the Horsemen in the corner and have it facing the center, and that gives you an extra few yards, but yeah. One way or the other, everybody just stack.
Yeah, just stack. It's easier.
Also,
Anybody
8
doing
yards
anything
on
else?
the Meteor range, so...
I'm seeing 20 yards on Meteor range.
Yeah, I didn't think it was 45. That's huge.
You looking at the DBM, the wallhead?
Yeah,
range?
that's the one that says 20. I don't know if it's reliable or not. But...
I don't think it's
All right.
correct.
I'm gonna go back to the YouTube video for a second here.
To answer your question, Rim, yes. Because it's a 60-yard range for the marks, every tank has to be well over 60 yards from any other tank. Otherwise,
Alright,
you're going to be
that's
eating the
all
mark
I
of the one
Alright.
for the next one.
That is also, by the way, part of the reason that taunt resists mean death on this fight. If your taunt resists and there isn't another warrior standing there ready to do the thing, it will take a replacement tank a good 15 seconds to get there and taunt.
Challenging shout should still be there for emergency
Yes.
purposes.
And you're thinking to yourself, oh, we also have Mocking Blow. Mocking Blow is not a taunt, it's a fixate. Mocking Blow will keep it on you for 6 seconds, and then it will run back to whoever it was on.
What does Domino's guide said on the meter? Does he actually specify a range?
That's a good question. There are inaccuracies in this guide, so I wouldn't trust it with my life, but no, it does not.
Well, why can't you challenging shout, Bale?
No, challenging shout is a taunt.
There won't be anything around you to challenging shout but the boss, so should be fine, right?
Anywho, don't let taunts resist. Bring your ZG trinkets. It'll only work every other rotation, but that's better than nothing. Alright, let's see if they can't kill this. And then we're going to talk about Sapphiron and KT. Those two fights are significantly less, I won't say annoying, but have similar numbers of things to pay attention to.
Alright, I gotta head out, so I will finish watching the rest of the video.
See you, Bacon. So the tanks are getting up to 4 stacks here. That's not a huge deal. As a tank, you've got more health. You can survive that 4 stack. Healers hate you a little bit because their mana's lower, but not a big deal. The reason for that is because they're waiting. They're not leaving at 3 stacks. They're waiting for the other person to come in, taunt, and then they're leaving, right? So tanks you can expect to get that 4th stack pretty often. All of these stacks deal shadow damage, by the way. Yet another reason why greater shadow protection potions are a nice little thing. Not that that's going to be what kills people, but I'm curious. How much did that meteor just hit for? He's the only one there right now, right?
What's the average fight length?
Pretty long.
10 minutes?
Oh, is that shield wall? No, it's inspiration.
He just resisted over half of that.
Yeah, 13k half resist.
So this is why you don't want to leave a tank alone on the meteor boss. He got lucky. we don't want to account for being lucky.
So I have 2 sources saying 20 yards and then 1 source saying 45.
He used last stand life-giving gem right before the meteor. It was pretty clutch.
Yeah. He knew.
That, and he parried an attack too.
By the way, Fusion, the guild that we're currently watching.
Nice.
Right? I'm good at typing. You might notice them at Alliance First on a lot of things. Like a lot of things. They are a PTR guild. They've done all of this before. Most of them, at least. They're, you know, what one would call good. And they've wiped on 4 Horsemen on the PTR with 100% damage buff like 6 times. So, everybody please pay attention when we do this fight. You know, part of their issue is I don't think they have the right number of healers. So. And they do not have a healing buff on this fight to make up for that.
Yeah, there's 7 people short.
Yeah. This is the kind of fight where numbers actually matter, right? Like, you can't 20 man this fight comfortably, even if everybody was double geared. Okay. So that is the military wing. Death Knight wing, Death Knight quarter, military quarter, whatever you want to call it. The remainder of the instance is in what is called the Frostworm Lair. In order to get the Frostworm Lair, we go back to the center here. There's a teleporter after 4 Horsemen, just like after the end boss of every other wing. And then there's another teleporter in the center of the necropolis that opens up once we have killed all 4 wings. This is where we zone into. This is important. We zone into here. Everybody's super excited. We've only got 2 bosses left. We're ready. Sapphiron's lying on the ground right in front of us. Don't walk forward. Don't go forward. Sapphiron has a massive aggro range, and there is an animation that takes some time the first time you pull Saph, but every time after that, you walk in and Saph just decides that you're dead. So there is a strategy here with having a rogue evasion tank for the first few seconds in order to keep Saph in the middle of the room. We might end up using that after a wipe, but yeah. So this is where you want Frost Resist gear. Right now, if you haven't sent me your Frost Resist sets, there's a form in the announcements channel. Go do that. You've got until the end of November, which is in 3 days. Yeah, you've got until Monday. If I do not have your Frost Resist by Monday, I'm not even going to consider you. So, just keep that in mind.
When are you deciding your items that you listed to be bought?
Today, after I'm done talking about this. So yeah, Frost Resist, big deal. Bring it. These people that don't look like they're wearing Frost Resist gear have a PTR buff. This PTR buff is not the same as it was in the military wing, which we just watched. This is 50% extra damage, 50% extra healing, 3,000 extra health, and 200 free frost resistance. So, as we watch this, keep in mind, everybody here has a free 200 frost resistance. Also keep in mind, however, that the PTR was bugged at the time that they did this, and the aura that Sapphiron pulses ticked once every second instead of once every 2 seconds. What that effectively means, because math is, the way that we're watching this is what a 0 frost resist Sapphiron would look like if you also had 3,000 extra health, 50% extra damage, and 50% extra healing. Right? So this is going to be an unrealistic representation of the fight, but this fight right here is the gear check. This is the congratulations, you beat all of the hard bosses in the game, and now you have this to get through before you can kill KT. Right? Quick Sapphiron guide.
Sir Pipperon. Pepperoni does a lot of frost damage, so you want to have resistance gear and potions. While on the ground, you will need to avoid blizzards and decurse life drain on players. When the boss flies up into the air, it will ice block 5 targets. The ice block also does AoE damage when it's first cast, so spread out if you can. The boss will then cast Frost Breath, which will one-shot everyone. To avoid this, all you need to do is hide behind one of the 5 ice blocks. Now you just rinse and repeat until this boss is dead.
Okay. Simple fight, right? Simple fight, except for the fact that Sapphiron hits like a truck. One of the hardest hitting bosses in the game. And on top of Sapphiron hitting for a truck, the raid as a whole is taking a shit ton of damage. So I'm going to zoom forward to the pole here so you can get an idea of what this looks like. Animation happens. It's really cool looking. Now, as you're watching the tank damage here, also keep in mind that the tank is going to be taking significantly more damage than this one is, because this one has 200 free frost resist that our tank will not have. So in addition to all of the physical damage that he ends up taking, he'll also end up taking a ton of frost. This is Fireball on steroids, basically. The damage never stops, you can't line of sight it.
Did Saph turn because of aggro or casting an effect?
Probably the initial blizzard, I'd have to guess. Let's find out. Nope, a little bit of aggro maybe? Yeah, a little bit of aggro. Now, mages and druids. This curse that goes out is a life drain. It's not particularly ouch, but with the fact that it also is in Sapphiron's encounter, where there's already enough ouch to deal with, this needs to be decursed instantly. Just get rid of it. It will also heal Saph for an annoying amount. Not too much, but an annoying amount. So, decurse that. Healers, pay attention to the raid frames here and the incoming damage he's got. This boss slaps, and the entire raid is eating it. You'll also see that there's a blizzard going on over here. This blizzard is not like other blizzards you're used to. This is not the Twins blizzard. This is like 5 or 6 blizzards stacked on top of each other. You do not want to be in this. In fact, the animation matches it, right? Like, this does not look like a regular blizzard. Don't stand in this. Not even for a second. It will murder you.
It also moves.
Yes, and it moves. Okay. So this is why melee need more frost resist than everybody else, because Sapphiron flies up into the air and the melee are useless for a period of time. While Sapphiron is in the air, as soon as Sapphiron takes off, you're going to hear me yelling, spread out. You need to spread out because look at everybody's health. You're not going to be full health in this fight, basically ever. Don't expect it to be. And the ice tombs that Sapphiron will rain down upon the raid deal AoE damage in a 10-yard radius. So you'll have a slash range 10 going on, and DBM will also probably pull that up automatically. But you do not want more than 2 people getting hit by a single ice tomb. 2 is okay, 3 is not. So you spread out once Sapphiron takes off. Now, this is another annoying point about us being Horde instead of Alliance. When you're spreading out, you need to try your very best to remain in range of your Shaman's Frost Resist totem. We don't have fun paladins running around with auras that are themselves, right? They can't just reposition themselves to make you good. And having the shaman redrop the totem when they really should just be spamming chain heal is not such a great idea. So the shamans will be marked on this, similar to all of our other, shaman-centric fights. Try to remain in range of your frost resistance totem. It helps. This is also a point where melee, you can swap to a shield with frost resistance on it, or a frost resistance offhand, that kind of thing, to help mitigate some damage while you're bored. But Sapphiron will ice block 5 people, and when those 5 people have been blocked, the raid will converge behind those blocks. Important that you get there before this giant ball of ice that you're about to see hits the ground. Yep. If you're not behind a block when that hits the ground, you're dead. Nothing anybody can do about it. You could have infinite frost resist, it would still one-shot you. It's something like 1,000,000 damage.
Ice block is the exception. Mages, if for whatever reason, if we have them frost because of kiting or something else, ice block prevents the damage still.
Mages, if you're going to press the ice block button on this fight, I need you to make sure that you say something or /yell 1,002 times or whatever, because if you ice block here and everybody else runs behind you, it doesn't save them. They will die. I will be upset.
They can wait like just a couple seconds before the ball hits the ground, so everybody else should already be behind a Saph ice block first.
You just gave me a really bad idea.
Yeah, don't do it. Also keep in mind here, when that 5th block goes out, what they have 3 or 4? When that 5th block goes out, you need to, and actually they messed up here big time. They only have, 2 blocks? 3 blocks? Yeah. People are dying. People are stacking. Yada, yada. You don't have that much time to get behind these blocks, right? You want to stay spread out, but make sure that you're close enough to a block that you can get behind it by the time stuff happens. By the way, while all of this is happening, the Frost Aura is still going out. So healers, the raid's still dying this entire time. Whole fight.
Was that a batching 3-hit Frost Aura?
No, it says 3 hits, but it's not actually.
Oh, it's just that the counter is not counting them fast enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
it's proccing every second on the PTR, and his scrolling combat text is batching things that happen, or similar effects that happen in a short period of time. You'll do that with dots and things like that too.
Frost Aura Pulse was still limited by line of sight, and so they didn't take the pulse wall behind the blocks.
Nope. It's near infinite range too. It's like 100 yards.
50,000.
Do you take damage from the aura while in ice block?
I don't think so. I think in ice block you're completely immune to everything.
Yeah.
But long story short, they die. Sapphiron's at 75%. So this is what Zero Frost Resist Sapphiron looks like. Don't be these people. Bring your Frost Resist gear. Okay?
Also, during the non-like in-flight thing, are we actually going to have healing assignments for particular groups, just so we're not sniping each other like crazy?
It is almost impossible to predict everybody's locations well enough to assign healers. Like I said, I will mark the shamans so that people can stay as close as possible to them. But you really just want to heal everybody in range of you, kind of like Cthulhu.
If it ends up being that hard to coordinate, we can try and set up zones for each party, but it gets complicated with running around for the random ice blocks and where the blizzards are and people getting out of them.
Yeah. Now, I do want to point out the fact that in addition to everything else that Sapphiron does, it's also a dragon. Don't stand in front of it, don't stand behind it. You'll note that the room is massive and they're only using half of it. The only reason that they're using half of the room is because it makes it easier for healers and it makes it easier to get behind the ice blocks. You obviously do not by any means want to... Oh, yeah, by the way. Back up just a second here.
Threat trap.
Yeah, aggro drop.
Yeah. So, Sapphiron lands.
2 fireballs go off, and
this person's on top. Who
That's
is it?
not green.
It's a haunt. Green's griefing again.
Dude, they never grief. Don't worry, that'll never happen.
Don't be this green, okay?
Hey, speaking of greens, do you Naxxramas is at 2 p.m. on December 3rd.
Oh man, that sucks.
Sorry, just wanted to grief the stream.
For anybody that missed at the beginning, it does cleave kind of like Veil and other ones. So if you do pull it, or if you stand up front, it does look like it's chaining.
His cleave is a little bigger than Veil, I think. You have to stand like
Yeah, I
behind.
presume it's bigger and worse, but it's the same mechanic. At least it looks like it.
Is that PST or EST, Con?
PST.
Shit.
Yeah. Sorry.
5 p.m. EST.
Literally every evening, Guild's gonna get in there before us.
Yep.
Sad times.
So there are some upsides to that. Like we can go in hard on Friday morning and have been able to look at their logs on Thursday night.
And also do the invasion.
Yeah, doing the invasion is gonna be the big thing.
We'll walk in there with
Wait, we need to do the invasion before Nax is actually open, don't we?
No,
No,
they're releasing them simultaneously.
Yeah, but
dumb.
But
So
they
So dumb.
the invasion unlocks Nax.
Not this
Nope.
time.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Yeah.
The
What's the
invasion
point
is
of the
more
invasion,
though. The gear, the loot.
Well, yeah, you get rewards from doing it, but the point of it was to unlock Naxxramas.
Nothing is coming on the 1st. There's going to be a patch on the 1st, and the Invasion and Nax are both releasing simultaneously at 2 p.m. PST.
Actually, the biggest patch to Hunters is happening on the 1st, so thank you very much.
So at 5 p.m. server time on the 3rd, we can start invasion and stuff.
Yes.
Check. Taking the 4th off.
Gonna be in a pub that evening. Sorry, guys.
We'll likely run splits next week, since we can.
Are we going to skip Blackwing Lair or just do it Wednesday or try to do it both days?
We should be able to do it Wednesday. I'll have to take a look at signups and such, but...
If we plan on AQ40 Blackwing Lair, it may change how people sign up.
So the other thing that I want to say about Sapphiron before we get... And that should not affect signups, by the way. Before we get to KT, This is the kind of fight where we take the 12 healers that we had for 4 horsemen and up that to 14 to 16. Initially, we're going to have all of our friendly meme specs just put on their healing gear and see how that works. But we may need to make swaps for that fight. So, all you people at the bottom of the Frost Resist list. Yeah.
So they're adding an extra week to the loot from the event.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of off topic, but in the spirit of farming the ever-loving shit out of the event, because all of the stuff is limited time drops, should we be planning on like no world buffs Friday except the ones we're getting directly before raid? Since anybody who's trying to plan for a longer term will be doing nothing but farming Scourge invasions and absolutely not raid logging that first week. Or Buffalo.
Well, if they're extending the invasion rewards for a week, that's not an issue, right? I think that world buffs for the first day are going to be very valuable because I can honestly see us making it through Spider Wing and most of Plague Wing with world buffs on a lot of people. So I would prefer to say that, grab world buffs if you can. Obviously, if you're going to just spend the entire night farming the invasion and grab bar buffs in the morning, that should be okay. Songflower and Rend aren't gonna make or break our progression. Would it make things slightly easier? Probably. Chances of you losing them before they wear out, pretty high.
Sounds like it's going to last till the end of the year.
That
So
seems wrong, but...
NPCs, yeah.
The total duration for the bonus dungeon bosses, vendors, and quest giver has been increased from 3 to 4 weeks and will end on December 31st.
But not the invasion itself. Yeah, we get 300. We get 300 zones defeated, and then a week after that.
You can walk into KT's chamber. Just do me a favor. See the circle in the middle? Don't touch it. Do not touch the circle. This is another one of those, if you pull it before we're ready type things, I'm going to be upset. They're testing KT's aggro range. It's really small. Don't walk on top of KT either, but just don't enter this circle. We all need to walk in here at the same time in order for this pull to work. Otherwise, this happens and everybody dies. Yeah. Okay, let's watch a quick guide on KT.
Kel'Thuzad Clan. Phase 1. Ads will spawn. Have your tanks pick up the abominations, which deal a stacking mortal wound on the tank. Melee should nuke this down. Range should kill the soul weavers, as they'll knock people back when they get in melee range. The range will also need to kill the soldiers of the frozen waste as soon as possible, as they deal AoE damage on the entire raid when they hit someone. When phase 1 is over, Kel'Thuzad Clan will be active. He cannot be taunted. You should try and pull him to the center of the room and have your raid spread out around the boss. Melee should form a diamond shape around him. You will need to have an interrupt chain for Frostbolt, as this is a one-shot ability. Every 10 seconds he can cast Shadow Fissure, which you simply step out of. Every 15 seconds he can cast an uninterruptible AoE Frostbolt. Every 20 seconds he can cast Mana Detonation, which depletes someone's mana by 50% and causes AoE damage. Every 30 seconds he casts Frostblast, which freezes a player and anyone around within 10 yards of them. It will continue to freeze anyone within 10 yards for the remainder of its duration. You need to just heal through this until Frostblast wears off. Finally, every minute the boss will mind control the tank and 4 more players, so your off tank needs to have secondary threat. You should CC the mind controls, threat is also dropped. Phase 3 starts at 40% health. It is exactly the same as phase 2, but 5 ads will spawn. You can shackle 3 of them, but 2 of them must always be tanked. When a raid member dies, they will gain a 15% damage increase. You should ignore these ads and DPS power through on the boss. Keep up interrupts and spreading, and you too can kill this boss.
Alright, so that's a lot of words to say that Sapphiron, KT has a lot of abilities to do a lot of damage. That's not the right one.
Basically saying that only 3 can be shackled.
Because only 3 can be shackled?
If you shackle more than 3, something happens, like they all break or
yeah, they all
happens.
Yeah, it will drop CC, or yeah, all CC will drop if you shackle more than 3. Alright, so we're not going to pull the boss like this. He's just having a good time. We'll pull the boss by everybody walking into the circle at the same time. When you walk into the circle, adds spawn in the cubbies around. We will have assignments for tanks to be facing certain directions. Tanks, you'll be picking up the abominations. Melee DPS, you'll be killing the abominations. Meanwhile, all ranged DPS will be taking care of the small skellies and the banshees. The soul weavers. The soul weavers are priority. The skeletons are super duper slow. And honestly, I think a single hunter could take care of all of them. They don't have a lot of health. So they kind of just die as long as people are paying attention. But again, you have to be paying attention. We will have ranged DPS assignments for each of these quadrants so that you guys know which direction to be facing most of the time. But generally speaking, this is Razor Gore 3.0, where you've just got a bunch of stuff that needs to die, and it dies pretty darn quickly, so nobody's too worried about it. If the skeletons are getting too close, they can be shackled. The abominations are supposed to hit hard, but on the PTR they really didn't. And their mortal wound debuff is also supposed to hit hard, but on the PTR it really didn't. So this whole phase is just a matter of making sure that you kill everything quickly enough so that the abominations don't start piling up and the mini ones and the soul weavers don't make it to the center. Outside of that, this is it. We're just doing this for a little bit, killing some ads, no big deal. This does also ramp up very slightly toward the end, but it's not a huge deal. However, do not by any means ever, 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 never leave this circle or attempt to pull something. Hunters, be careful with your multi-shots. You can accidentally pull an entire bay. And if you do, we're fucked. So don't do that. These things don't have enough health and don't need to die fast enough.
So with mitigation, he was taking like 1200 a swing?
Yeah, they don't hit very hard. He's not wearing his mitigation set.
We gonna dual wield for those as well?
They're stunnable, so the threat really doesn't matter. I don't know. It's whatever.
Okay.
So, but nothing's meleeing hard in this whole fight.
No. Well, okay. Here's where that becomes an issue. Let me pull up a wonderful little thing that Bangu posted.
KT's hits pretty hard, I think.
Yeah. I wouldn't count on that because it can, like, he can cast a frostbolt volley and then immediately slap you afterwards, and you know you're having a bad time. But yeah. All right, so this is the entirety of phase 1. I'm just gonna skip through it. Eventually, phase 2 happens. When phase 2 happens, the tank needs to be ready to pick up KT. Part of the reason that the raid needs to spread out so much are the ice tombs that he casts, similar to Sapphiron. They do an AoE in a 10-yard radius. They also do a shit ton of damage to the person that's entombed. So healers need to be on top of that, because... also, by the way, this is why you pre-pop a Frost Resist potion on this fight, because if you get tombed, it's going to hurt a lot, and chances of people saving you are very low. Alright, DBM timer was way off for this one. Hey look, they accidentally pulled a bay. But yeah, so everyone wants to spread out. There will be 3 melee stacks. Notice KT actually has a decent chunk of health. 3.2 million. So this is a decently long fight. There will be 3 melee stacks so that if a melee gets entombed, it doesn't hit literally everybody. So the tank is in one position, and then you see the 3 marks where the other ones are standing. These red circles are the shadow fissures. Do not stand in these red circles. Whatever you're doing, stop it and leave. Doesn't matter if you have to cancel a cast. This is basically a one-shot as soon as it erupts, which you're... there it is. Anybody standing that would be dead. So don't do that. The frost bolts, this one right here, frost bolt. This is a relatively slow cast. Okay, it's not Arcane Explosion from Skyrim, right? If any one of these gets through, anyone, I will have a kick rotation set up, but if any one of these frost bolts get through, the tank is dead. There's nothing we can do about it. They're dead. It does like 18,000 damage. It's really stupid. Do not let the frost bolts happen. Mind controls also happen. These need to be sheeped, obviously. And by sheeped, I mean turtled. If you don't have a turtle, you're not invited. Also, they can be stunned and scattershotted, and just CC them. If you do not see that they are currently CC'd, you need to CC them. Also, take a look at the person currently tanking KT. That's a big ouch. Now everybody's all over the place because warriors didn't burn their fears. And Frostbolt Volley. That Frostbolt Volley hits for, I think, 3k before resistances. And it is uninterruptible. So do not attempt to interrupt the Frostbolt Volley. You can't. Just the regular Frostbolt casts.
So is there a reason why the tank is all the way back here?
Wondering that myself, actually. He might be waiting to pick up the ads. They might have... Because KT isn't tauntable, right? So having multiple people in these stacks is just more damage, right? More damage dealt to the raid, that is. And they might already have people ready in the off-tank positions, people that are high enough threat. Oh no, he got in there.
Maybe so if the melee gets entombed, he's not one of them?
Interesting. It seems like this is not a thing that I was aware of. Okay, the mind control is actually a threat reset. Cool. That makes things a little bit easier. It also does mean, though, DPS, that you guys need to, you know, chill after every MC. So this is a 2-tank fight, then. I thought it was a 4-tank fight.
Do we know, is the mind control hitting the, like, top 5 threat or anything?
No. It guaranteed hits the tank, but will hit a random 3 other people.
What's the reason
Didn't it hit all melee?
It tends to hit melee. I have seen it hit casters and healers before.
It's the people with the highest. Yeah, the people with the highest threat. It will reset threat, and this was a 60-second cooldown.
So that's why the tank was staying out, to make sure that he was not anywhere near the top 5 on threat, and so that he didn't get mind controlled and could pick it up on the cycle.
Yeah. All of that said, Bale throws out a fun fact. Apparently the healers will heal KT with a 500% bonus.
Yeah, the mind control is random. It just hits the tank and for random people.
It's 200% damage increase and 500% healing, so they need to be sheeped right away.
Mm-hmm. So this is why you want to make sure that your melee stacks are spread. Don't let this happen. Now, what I want you to see here is, let me back this up a little bit. The initial cast, boom, nobody really took any damage. You think to yourself, oh, that wasn't that bad. It's a dot. Watch all these people just start dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can't heal more than 1 or 2 people through that. It's just not going to happen.
Also,
now,
for the mind control, it's 5 people. So if we don't have 5 mages, like a death coil or fears should probably step in.
Concussive shot, yeah, priest fears, so many things.
Duration on the mind control?
It's like 12 seconds or some shit. It's not that long. So, right here, 40%. He calls for the power of the Lich King, and the Lich King sends bugs. Because we're back in AQ again. These will spawn one at a time. which makes things relatively easy because we can have priests set up, say, I shackle the first one, 5 shackles the second, Frail shackles the third, that kind of thing. And after the third one has been shackled, whatever tanks are free, you guys have to pick up the next 2. All right, they don't hit particularly hard. Healer? Yeah. They don't hit particularly hard. However, as was mentioned in the little guide video, if somebody dies, they gain a 50% stacking damage increase. Don't die. Don't die. Nobody be dumb.
It's 15 or 50?
I think it's 50. I don't know. Just don't die. Just
15.
Don't die.
15. Guardians gain 15% damage every time switch target or player dies. Every time they switch targets or a player dies. So if you swap them to a different tank, they also gain the 15%.
Yeah. This is important. See this ice trap over here? Bad, Hunter. Bad. Because this one got ice trapped, every other one became unshackled. Doesn't matter what form of CC you use on them, only 3 can be CC'd at a time.
Interesting.
So if you are not assigned to CC, don't do it. If one of our priests that is assigned to CC dies, I'll call for somebody else. But, yeah, do not over CC, because then we have them running around.
Yeah, he casts Mass Dispel in all of them once you CC the third. It's what the tooltip is saying here.
That being said, from a DPS perspective, these can be largely ignored, and by largely I mean entirely ignored. You just nuke KT for the remainder of the 40%.
So that looked like they shackled 4 after the Mass Dispel.
You can have 4 shackled for a batch. But that's it.
Wonder if the Mass Dispel has an internal cooldown or something.
So yeah, they're saying here that you could chain CC them throughout the whole fight if you had the 4 priest, 4 fears, or whichever you want to use. You could chain CC them throughout the whole fight.
Yeah, this is very, very sloppy. Partially because they just have so many people dead, right? This is just like every other fight in the game. Don't die, you know. If you're spread out properly and you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing, you'll be fine.
Are you saying we should reduce the boss's health to 0 while staying alive?
Yes. Allow your health to maintain above 0 numbers while simultaneously reducing the boss's health to 0. Indeed. This is better. These are under control. One tank has both of the free ones. The other ones are not shackled. Okay, this is not much better. But KT dies, so that's fun. Oh, hey, look, Gressel. Nice.
And the mobs run away. So it is literally just buying time.
Frostfire Ring's pretty nice, too. There are some rings that I honestly hope we never see, but oh well. And with that, we have won. We've beaten Naxx. We won't be server first because fucking all the evening guilds are going to go in on Thursday night, but we'll be up there.
I don't
think they'll clear it opening night?
Yeah, I don't think anybody will.
I bet you that there are probably 1 or 2 guilds that stay in there until it's clear.
On our server?
Yeah.
Let's keep in mind we had 6 do AQ day 1, and that launched Sunday at like 7 p.m. or something.
Yeah, it was morning. I thought they got in there like 3 or 4.
For us, if you can make it, plan on staying late Friday and plan on showing up extra on Monday.
Did you want to talk about his abilities? He's got a bunch of them. Yeah.
Mind control, frost ball.
Yeah, there's the volley, the ice tomb thing. You have to be spread 10 yards.
The mana burn.
There's the mana explosion.
I literally talked about all of them.
Yeah, we went through all of them.
Are we doing 4 clumps or 3?
4.
Okay.
For the melee?
4 with the tank by themselves.
Wait, so that's 4 including tank or 4 not including tank?
4 including the tank. So tank is 1, and then 3 melee stacks.
Okay. Yeah, it's a standard.
Oh, and
Off
when there's
tanks.
a fissure on the tank, he like backs up, I think, and the whole raid has to shift.
Yeah, the melee just need a position around KT, basically, no matter where KT is. But treat this like Cthulhu positioning, where if another group is out of position, or if KT himself is out of position, you do not need to be right there, right? You don't need to. Your DPS uptime can suffer a little bit, so that you don't die, right? So make sure you're approaching slowly and trying to get into a proper position, so you're not killing yourself or your friends.
Question about 4 horsemen.
Yes.
As a DPS warrior being an off tank, you are assigned to a certain tank, and you're always following him. Is that correct? Because we move around the room. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, they so because of the way that tank rotations happen, say for instance, Adamiri's on Mograine, right? And you are assigned to replace Adamiri. So, and this will never happen because we'll have 4 real tanks on those bosses, but still. After the first 3 stacks, you go to replace Adamiri. Adamiri comes to the middle. After the next 3 stacks, you will get replaced by another main tank, while Adamiri goes to replace Korthas. At that point, you're back in the middle, and your job after the next 3 stacks is to once again replace Adamiri. Right?
Gotcha. Okay.
So every single time, you will be replacing the same person, yes.
Are you doing like an in and out strategy, or are you doing like a clockwise, counterclockwise rotation?
We'll do an in and out for the first 2. There's no real reason to rotate the tanks clockwise or counterclockwise. It also gives us the opportunity to put the better geared tanks on the active kill targets that also happen to slap harder, so that we're not worried about the DPS warriors just kind of eating it.
Okay.
Do we have any weak order currently can use for yelling when mage try ice blocked on Sapphiron? No, but boy oh boy, it would take me 5 minutes to make that, and whatever mage is gonna troll the entire raid wouldn't use it anyway. So
one thing you can look at, it's the Sapphiron ice traps are white and they're not see-through, while the mages are blue and they are see-through. So it's extremely easy to tell which one.
Presumably, we don't actually have deep frost mages. We just
because they can't DPS for shit in that fight.
If there's a mage with ice block in Sapphiron and they actually use it, it just makes it that much easier for me to say, okay, I know who I'm replacing next attempt.
I think either Saffron. I know KT is immune to frost, and I think Saffron is too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be really stupid.
So there's no reason to be frost in Nax. Like a little bit of help kiting Luth, but you don't need to go deep for that. Any other big questions?
I have a question for this is for Lotheb, which I know is not the subject today, but I didn't see. With regards to the priority to the debuff, what is the plan on that?
It'll go to mages first, and then everybody else.
Will we have like called out specific orders?
Yes, yeah. There'll be groups set up for all that. I'll be honest with you all, like, no offense to our slightly lesser pumpers, but it's going on the biggest pumpers, right? Like.
Oh, you saying Hunter's gonna be up there?
Hell yeah.
Hey, pump. Pretty
Can't
well.
wait, man.
Look at those courses.
Yeah, eventually when we get this shit on farm and Lotheb is no longer a giant issue, we'll start rotating some people in and out so they can parse. But yeah, no, for progression especially, it's mages and then pumpers.
Okay, I was just trying to figure out whether I needed to, how much emphasis I should put on a hit set.
I mean, I have Arcane, Frost, and Fire. I'm considered a mage.
True.
Right? Technicalities.
Quick question. If there are some non-pumpers that never get the debuff on Lotheb, what is the chance of them still pulling threat off of a fully mitigation geared tank?
Because they're the non-pumpers, probably pretty low. I think you can have, it's 15 seconds, lasts a minute, right? And hits 5 people at a time.
I believe it lasts 90 seconds.
Something like that. Regardless, you can have most of the raid with the debuff. I think it's 4 cycles. I want to say it's only 4 cycles. In which case you could have 20 people with the debuff at any given point in time. Which is the vast majority of people doing damage, right?
Yeah, but if you then, after the 16th through 20th person, go back to 1 through 4, then damage dealers 21 through 28 will never get it.
Well, those are gonna be like hunters,
Yeah.
enhancement shamans.
No flame, but
shit
damage
like
dealers
that.
20 through 28 aren't going to pull threat.
Yeah. Enhancement, elemental shamans, whatever druids or hunters, like those are not gonna be able to.
Yeah.
Hey, Glorik, can you make me some bottomless bags?
I sure can. Let me close down my stream. I'm also going to send out frost resist stuff. And we'll do some Naxx next week.